This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Jodie.
Hi everybody, I'm Jodie and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, thank you, Dave. Dave gave me a heart, a little early Valentine's. So I know. I feel so welcome. And thank you, Sean, wherever you are, for asking me to speak. It's always an honor to speak at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, you know. I love it here. And happy birthday, everybody, and congratulations to the chip takers. That's really awesome, you know, and I love to hear the humility and the honesty, and sitting right here, I got to look into the eyes of everybody that was taking a cake, and that's powerful stuff, man, because people are freaked out, you know, and they're scared, and they're like, oh, shit, what am I going to say? And, I mean, you can just see it. It's like little internal dialogue, like running around in the head. So happy birthday to everybody. You know, and I loved, I think, was it Brad? Is that right? Yeah. You know, I have 20 years, and I got that a day at a time. And I can definitely, I've heard it a lot, how people with time can go out in this program, you know, and I've been one of the fortunate ones. I think it has to do with luck. I mean, it has to do, I'm going to tell you how I stayed sober for 20 plus years. But I think anybody who's in this room tonight is lucky. You know, there are a lot of people out there, a lot of alcoholics who are just suffering and dying every day on the streets and, you know, living really shitty lives. And any of us in here tonight are really lucky to be here. I hope if you don't know that you will know that shortly. That's called Stick Around for the Miracle. You know, I want to start with one thing that I heard when I was 30 days sober, and I heard this from my sponsor. I'm going to have to take this off in a second. Is this for me too? Okay. When I was 30 days sober, I got a sponsor, and my sponsor said something to me that I love to share because it's helped keep me sober all this time. And she said, anytime you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, what you do is you look for the similarities and you leave the differences behind. So for anybody out there who can't relate to me and you know, they're like, who the hell are you? Or you don't relate to what I'm saying or what I look like or how I sound or any of that, keep coming back, because what I'm sharing with you tonight is only my opinion. I'm just one person, just a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm just going to share with you how it worked for me. My hope, my wish is that there will be something in what I say that helps somebody to stay sober for 24 more hours. You know, that's all any of us have, are 24 hours. You know, and I sponsor a lot of women, and that's a trip. In fact, I'd have to say, someone make some animal noises or something while I do that, would you? That barking dog was off the hook. I was like, that scared me. I thought, there's a dog in the room. There probably are a few dogs in the room. But anyway, no. God, that's so good. I'm so good. Sorry, I'm just. Okay. Anyway. Oh, what the hell? Let's have a little fun. It doesn't all have to be serious business and grim and all that good stuff. I was going to say I sponsor a number of women in the program. In fact, I have the honor, I'm going to say honor, of sponsoring more women than I've ever sponsored before in my entire sobriety. And, you know, it's not always fun, and it's not always easy. And sometimes certain women call me with certain things, and I'm like, I don't have any experience with that, and I don't know what to tell you, and I'm just going to sit here and listen to you cry. And I'm just going to be with you while you cry. And you know, and my head's going, God, I hope she hurries up. You know, I hope she would just hurry up and finish, because I got things to do. But I'm going to sit here, I'm going to listen to you cry. I know, and that's probably awful to admit. But, you know, I mean, just because I'm sober 20 years, I'm sure as hell not perfect. But I'll tell you, what I want to do is share about what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. And let me tell you, it's radically different. radically different. I was born in Dallas, Texas, a long, long time ago, and I grew up in the home with an alcoholic father. And my mom was 18, my dad was 19 or 20 when they met. He was already an alcoholic at that time, and it was one of those, what is it, shotgun weddings, that's it. So I grew up really afraid because it was pretty chaotic. I remember my parents having these screaming fights, and I just remember thinking, I wish my dad would go far away, like up into the stars. I was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I was thinking these thoughts of basically wishing my father was dead because it was so awful in my household. And my parents divorced, and I remember when I was 12, I said to my mom, you know what? I am never going to drink. I'm never going to smoke. I'm never going to do drugs, and I'm never going to have sex before I get married. And do you know, I never have smoked cigarettes. And so... 1 out of 4 ain't bad. That's pretty bad. But anyway, I was just that really straight A, goody-goody, sort of as a reaction to my father's drinking and everything that he did and his smoking. I was going to be the antithesis of that. I was going to be the opposite, and I was going to be kind of good and perfect. And I tried pretty hard. And I was a straight A student and graduated early from high school and went to college at Texas Tech. But the problem was, at Texas Tech, they had something called keg parties and beer bongs and cocaine and Valium and God only knows. I've forgotten all the things I did. Mandrex. And I could rattle off like a pharmaceutical list of whatever. Freebase. What else did I do in college? I did a lot of really wild stuff in college. And I was doing it all at 17. And, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was bad. Definitely the daughter of an alcoholic. My mother's father was an alcoholic and died of alcoholism. My father's father had alcoholic issues. A couple of my mother's brothers, she's from 9 kids, they're alcoholics. I have alcohol. I'm Irish. Can I just rest my case? It's like, there you go. Texas, Irish, crazy, whatever. So I drank a lot, I used a lot, I did a lot of drugs, I slept with a lot of guys, I forgot where my car was a lot, I forgot where I lived a lot, I wrote hot checks, I went to jail a lot, I got arrested a lot for DUIs, and, it's the whole laundry list of stuff. I somehow managed to still graduate from Texas Tech with a degree, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Moved to Washington, D.C., got a research assistant position on Capitol Hill, went to work for a guy named Charles Rangel for the Select Committee on Narcotics Abuse and Control. True story. And back in those, this was a long time ago, so back in the olden days, we had like 800 numbers, that are like, I've forgotten, there's like a word for it, but we could call for free, like toll-free lines, whatever, and it was called something else. Thank you, God, yeah. Watts line, another old person like me. Sorry, young person. We're young. We're getting younger every day. So I would call my friend still in college, and I'm like, you're not going to believe the report I'm looking at. It's like how to make Bolivian, I started to say caviar, but Bolivian cocaine, and it was like this whole, it was just like I was really impressed with my job, and I wanted to share like all this good information I was hearing about. But, and I would take off from that job for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Oh, I'm in Colorado skiing, I've got laryngitis, I can't really come back to work, and they'd be, that's okay. And I got away with murder, and it almost cost me my life because I probably got stopped. Like I had 2 DUIs, but I got stopped another 95 times for every arrest. So I don't know, I just drove drunk all the time, I remember thinking when I got sober, oh, thank God I'm safe to be on the roads. I'm not driving drunk. It took me a couple of years to realize, oh, other people are still driving drunk. It just didn't dawn on me. What happened was, in 1984, I got a phone call. I was living in D.C. I was working on Capitol Hill. I had a roommate, and I got a phone call at 2 in the morning from my mom, and she said, your sister's been shot. And she wanted, and there was more to it. And I knew that she meant my sister had been killed. And my little sister was 21 and living in Dallas and had this ex-boyfriend cocaine dealer who basically stalked her, found her, broke into her apartment and shot her in the head and killed her. She was legally drunk at the time. He was legally high on cocaine at the time. My mom, and God bless you, where are you? You're not even legal limit. And no, where are you? Oh, well, there you go. That's okay. Keep coming back. It's okay. I love hearing that, though. My mom took my sister to her first AA meeting when she was 16 years old, and they said she's too young to be an alcoholic. And now we know better. And she really was one at 16. And the thing that prolonged my drinking or helped me to drink or helped me to be righteous in my drinking and my drug use is, I was smoking pot with my little sister. In fact, she turned me on to a lot of the stuff that I did. But she did it more and better and worse and whatever than me. So I could look at her and judge her and therefore not have to look at myself. So that's what I did, and then unfortunately, on a multitude of levels, she was murdered. So not only did that rob me of my relationship with her, all she wanted to do was get married and have kids. She just wanted that, and she was robbed of that opportunity by this disease, but I couldn't look at her anymore, and my drinking and using spiraled down pretty quickly. But I still tried for a couple years. I had come out to California to visit, and I went to these great clubs, and I did coke, and I did all this stuff with these fun people, and I thought, oh, well, I really belong out here. I'm moving to California because they really can party like I like to party. And so I pulled a major geographic. I had already used up Washington, D.C. in 3 years, believe me. And I couldn't even show my face there anymore. And I moved out here. My mom, who was in just brutal agony from my sister's death, because it was only the two of us, said to me, I think you should see somebody. I think you should see a therapist. And we're Texans, so we don't really go to therapy. And I'm like, for my mom to say that to me was so difficult, and especially because I could look at her and she was in such horrible pain, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try. So, it's one of those great stories where I went to this woman. I sat with her for an hour and I said, oh, the men, oh, the money, oh, the job, oh, the this, oh, the parents, oh, the friends, everyone. I explained all my problems to her, and she just looked at me and she goes, honey, you're an alcoholic, and until you become willing to go to an AA meeting, I can't help you. And I'm sitting there flabbergasted. I'm like, I don't think I've mentioned drinking. I don't think you're allowed to say that to me because I don't think I mentioned alcohol. I'm keeping that a deep, dark secret for a while, but she just outed me right away. And I'm like, fuck you, see you later, I leave. 6 months go by, I'm doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, the very definition of insanity, and it all came down to this one event, which was I was hungover for the weekend, had a date with the great guy, so I'm not going to drink or use before this date, and I managed to white knuckle it through getting ready, and I'm just sweating bullets, and we go on this date. But unfortunately, he took me to a sushi bar. So how are you supposed to go on a date to a sushi bar and not have sake and Sapporo and whatever else they had to drink there? I didn't know how to do that. So I did that, slept with him, woke up the next morning. At the time, I should say that my cousin was dying of AIDS. And he actually died of AIDS when I was 30 days clean and sober. I was so deathly afraid of dying of AIDS. It consumed me because I was watching my cousin die, and he was 65 pounds. And it was just one of the scariest things I had ever witnessed, and I thought, I don't really want to go through that. That doesn't look like fun. Will you tell me when I've got? There I am. Okay. So, next morning, remorse, guilt. I drank. I slept with the guy. I'm going to die of AIDS. It's all over. My life is over. And so I became willing, and I called this woman, this therapist, and I said, I think I have something to talk to you about. Just the tiniest bit of willingness had crept into my body, just a teeny, teeny, tiny bit. And I went in to see her, and I said, okay, I'm not going to AA, because just forget it. Because my dad had taken me to an AA meeting when I was 14. I heard him speak. By the way, my dad's sober 34 years at this point, But he had taken me, and I was like, oh, that's disgusting and humiliating that he's sharing all of our dark family secrets with all these strangers. I will never go back there again. And by God, I was never going back to AA, you know. And so I went in to see her and I said, isn't there anything at all besides AA? And she's like, well, in her smart therapist, cunning type way, you know, you are the daughter of an alcoholic. You could go to ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. I'm like, yeah, I'll go to that. That's perfect for me. Yeah, I'll do that. So I went to a couple of ACA meetings, and show of hands, anybody that's been? Not a whole lot, but you'll know, you might be able to relate. I went, and my experience was, and thank God for that program, because there are definitely people that need it, and it's useful. And I went, and there were it was all women. They were sitting in a big circle, and there was a lot of crying and gnashing of teeth and pulling of hair, and, you know, and I sort of sat there going, oh, shit, I don't think I can do this, you know, and I went scurrying back to therapy, and I'm like, okay, I'll go to AA. Just don't make me go back there again. I'll go to AA. I'll try anything. So, you know, and thank God for Al-Anon, which I also go to. Thank God for ACA, and thank God for every 12-step program on the planet, right? So I started going to AA, and it was one of those funny things. At the time, I was in a real preppy mode, so preppy, like little bow tie, preppy suit, preppy hair, preppy. And I wound up at this meeting in the Valley called The Nest. Some of you have been there. And I couldn't have been more radically, like the Nest is over here, and I'm like over here, polar opposite, and I walked into this meeting, and, you know, I didn't fit in, and I looked different, and they looked different, and I sat down, and I listened, and I'm like, you know, can anyone relate? I just breathed deeply, and I'm like, God, I am as kooky as these people. You know, and I mean, I loved it. And, okay, actually, I never went back there again, okay? I went there that one time, but I liked it so much that I became willing to go to other AA meetings. So it became a quest. I'm like, I want to go to a lot of different ones and see which ones I really like. And if you're new, I highly suggest this technique. It actually really works. You know, you'll find that you're more comfortable in certain rooms than you are in others, and listen to that and stay in those rooms. So I, you know, in my first 30 days, I landed at this meeting at the Old Age Home for Actors. I forget the proper title. I'm, you know, running it under the bus, calling it that. Quite a lovely place up on Mulholland, big fireplace and library, books all around. And I thought, well, this is lovely. I really fit in here, you know, but whatever. I didn't exactly. But I met this woman, and, you know, I thought, and I'd been hearing get a sponsor. So I thought, okay, I really need to get a sponsor that I can sort of run a number on, because I don't exactly want to do what they're telling me to do, but I kind of want to look like, you know, that good girl part of me is still alive. I want to look like I'm adhering to, like I'm kind of trying or whatever. And I want to get A's. I want to get A+s if I possibly can, you know. And so I'm from Dallas. She's from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Southern Baptist. She's Jewish. I'm this, she's that. I figure this is perfect. She'll never know. You know, I can just really run a number on her. It turns out, as luck would have it, we're just alike on the inside. Just alike on the inside. She's still my sponsor today. She's got 26 years, you know. And, you know, I mean, I keep wanting people to raise their hands. Is there anyone who doesn't have a sponsor? Please get a sponsor, because, and it doesn't even matter. Just get anybody to be your sponsor. Try to get it to be the same sex that you are. That's kind of crucial, because then it's ugly if it's the other way around. But just get a sponsor, because I think what it does, and this is just my opinion again, what it does is it helps you with your intimacy skills. You know, a lot of us, we come in here, we have intimacy issues. We do. We've never been honest and open with another human being. We haven't learned how to trust somebody else. We haven't learned how to tell the truth about some of our deepest, darkest secrets. And so what I've learned from sticking with the same person all these years is that I can tell her anything. Granted, she has tried to throw me away a time or two, but I clung on tightly, and so I've kept her. But, you know, she has saved my life. I have worked the steps over and over and over and over with her, you know, and for a variety of reasons and at different times in my sobriety. She has saved my life. When I was 3 years sober, you know, I got into one of those AA girl meets boy on AA campus kind of dealios, and one of those. And I'll just put it this way: we met at 8 months at Rodeo, and I had the literature commitment there, and I got it when I was 7 months, and that's because I lied about how long I had been sober to the then secretary, Kenny Lambino. And then I had to go back to him and say, well, you know what, I really lied, and I don't really have a year, but I have 7 months, and I'd still like to keep the commitment. He's like, grumble, grumble, okay. So that was my first commitment. I loved that meeting. I still go to that meeting today, not nearly as much because I primarily go to women's meetings. But met this guy, year and a half, lots of drama, lots and lots and lots of drama. Enormous amounts of drama went on for about a year and a half. And it all came down to this. We're sitting at dinner. Like, I broke up with him at 6 weeks, and he was kind of new too, and that devastated him. So cut to, I'm almost 3 years sober. He's almost, you know, whatever, 2.5 years sober. And he sits me down at dinner, and he goes, you know, the only reason that I've been going out with you all this time is because remember when you broke up with me after we'd been dating for 6 weeks? Well, I wanted to break up with you and devastate you the same way you devastated me, and I never really loved or cared about you. And I'm like, that sucks. That is so harsh. I get it in some weird, sick, and twisted way, but that really is just like, man, you really played that one out a long time. Like, couldn't you have done it like a little sooner and like not drag it out to where we're like talking about getting married, you know? And he's just like, ugh. And I'm like, okay, I need to go to therapy. I need to go back to therapy. And at this point, though, I was like freaking out because I'm now 3 years sober, and I hope this doesn't come as bad news to any of you who have less than 3 years. But anyway, this is just my experience, and it may not happen to you. What was happening with me is there were a lot of feelings, a lot of events, a lot of everything bubbling up to the surface. Bubble, bubble, bubble. You know, it's all stuff I have been able to drink and use over. Let's keep it down under my foot. I don't want to look at it, don't want to know about it, don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to deal with it, right? Unfortunately, sobriety really works. All this stuff started bubbling up, and I was freaking out. I was scared to death. I was scared to stay in my apartment alone. And so I would call my sponsor. I would knock on her door. I would show up. Where are you going? What are you doing? Can I go with you? And she'd be like, I'm going to a funeral. I'm like, okay, great. I'm so happy to be going to a funeral with you. May I go? Sure. You know, and I would go to funerals, and I'm like, okay, that person's dead. I'm alive. I'm doing better than they are. You know what I mean? So it was just like, whatever it took, you know, and I just would ask her for help, and she saved my life. In fact, she referred me to the therapist that I began to see. And so I began to sort of untie all those little messy little relationships and peel back some of those messy layers, you know, and maybe see what real stuff, what authentic, really fun, happy, joyous, and free things might be underneath some of the shit, you know? And so that's what I did, and my experience has been that I have sought outside help, you know, all the while going to, there's a gnat flying around here, all the while going to AA, working the steps, being sponsored, sponsoring women, working the steps some more, you know, and here's the crucial part for me. I came in here with a Southern Baptist punishing you're going to burn in hell God. Okay, that sucks. No fun at all. There's no happy, joyous, and free. There's only guilt and shame, and you're going to burn in hell. That's it. So I'm like, okay, I don't really want that anymore. I'm going to change that. So what's happened for me is that as I've stayed sober, as I've become emotionally sober, as I've gotten deeper and more robust emotional sobriety, I have gotten to change my concept of a higher power. As I've gotten further into the steps, into the book, into sponsorship, into prayer and meditation. I don't meditate a lot right now, but I have for periods of time in my sobriety. I'm just on a kind of a non-meditating little part of life right now. My concept of a higher power has changed. I no longer have that punishing, shameful, burn in hell, damnation, really bad kind of God. I don't have that anymore. The higher power that I have today, and I want to share this with you because this is what really works for me, because I am not in an AA meeting 24/7. I'm just not. I try to be 3 times a week, sometimes maybe more, and God knows I've gone to 90 meetings in 90 days periodically throughout my sobriety. And but what I've done with my higher power and the way that's changed for me is I have a God in my life that is energy, and that is a way that I'm connected with the entire universe. And some days I'm only connected with a little tiny bit of the universe. Some days it's more expansive, and what I do every day is I put all my fears and all my worries and all my doubts and all my guilt and all my shame, and it goes right here, and I go, here, God, this is for you. And God does, or the universe does, or the apple does, or the door does, whatever you want to call that, whatever you want to call your higher power, something greater than you that can create bigger than you. What that energy does for me is he takes that and turns it into dust. And then I can go on with my day and be happy, joyous, and free, because you know what? If I'm 20 years sober and I'm not happy, joyous, and free, I'm doing something wrong. I mean, that's just me. Although I will say, for any of you that are sober a long time and you're miserable, but you're sober, okay. Hang on for the miracle, you know what I mean? It's like, who am I to say? God bless you, But I want to be happy, joyous, and free. And I'll add my own thing. And serene, and sane, and abundant, and all these great words. I want all the great words, So I work for those words. When I was 5 years sober, I was at the Brentwood Thursday night meeting, and I had a sponsee in this arm and a sponsee in this arm, and I have it all figured out, and I look across the room and I see God's perfect plan for me. His face was shining over there. Didn't matter that he was married. Didn't matter, he was 2 years sober, I was 5 years sober. Nothing really mattered. I just knew he was the one, and he was the one. And I married him and had a baby with him, and none of that's a mistake. He decided to go out and do some more research on marijuana and drinking and cocaine and some various things, and I wasn't really loving that. In fact, I wasn't loving it so much that it nearly took me out, and that's why I could relate so much to to Brad's story, because I was going to shoot heroin. I'd never shot heroin. I was going to shoot heroin. That was an option. That was plan A. Plan B was run him over with my car. Plan C was drive myself off a cliff. And I'm like, okay, that all kind of sucks. Plus, I have this 3-year-old baby, and I'm like, maybe I should come up with something else. And perhaps there could be another way. I don't know. I hadn't been going to meetings very much. And I'm going to share this with you, and then I'm going to wrap it up. What I did, this is so cool, and I swear to you, I swear to God, this is God working in my life. And I hope every single person in this room gets to experience this kind of moment. Because I had the thought suddenly of, what if I don't drink and use and don't commit homicide or suicide? So I'll table all that. That's an option, but I won't do that for now. And what if I just go to AA and start over? What if I'm just new? What if with my 15 years, I just walk into the rooms and I say, I'm new. I'm just going to be new. I didn't pick up, I didn't use, and I didn't, go to jail even. But what if I'm just new? What if I am just willing to walk in the rooms and just be new and just be teachable? And my experience was I did that. I was able to walk through a divorce, which was the most painful thing I've ever been through in my life, hands down, divorcing this man. And and the women in this program absolutely saved my life and my higher power. And I think that's God's intervention. And I think that's why I'm sober 20 years today, because I was so humbled, that I was willing to go to any length to stay sober. And every single meeting and every single thing I had heard in here all kept me sober, you know, and it's just, what a miracle, you know? And I look around at all your faces tonight, and as corny as it may sound, I just love looking at you, and I just, from the bottom of my heart, wish sobriety for you for the next 24 hours, you know, and it really, really does work. So keep coming back. Thank you.